The week progressed quietly, but then, bam, two huge news stories, one for Xbox and one for PlayStation. There's really a ton to go over. I also got Ubisoft updates, Crimson Desert, God of War leaks, and way more gaming news to go over. So good that you're joining the Sunday News Roundup. And let's go. Yes, you might have seen the news. Sony is shutting down video game studio Bluepoint, who you of course know most recently from the Demon's Souls remake, the launch game for the PS5. They also did the Shadow of the Colossus remake, the Nathan Drake collection, as well as the God of War collection. They even helped Santa Monica develop Ragnarok. But we later learned that after Ragnarok, Bluepoint began working on a live service God of War game. That project was cancelled in January 2025. PlayStation said at the time that it was working with Bluepoint to determine the studio's next project. But now, 13 months later, they were apparently unable to find a fitting project, which is crazy when you think of all the potential classic PlayStation games that could have been remade and probably sold a couple million copies. What about Uncharted 1? Or Bloodborne, anyone? The problem seems to be though that is just not good enough for Sony anymore. Demon's Souls ended up selling 2 million units and Shadow of the Colossus sold around 750,000. That's probably still profitable, but apparently not the numbers Sony cares about anymore. But here's the thing, why buy a remake and remaster studio if you're not going to let them focus on doing just that? It once again feels like such mismanagement to put this relatively small 70-person team on a freaking God of War live service game. You could argue that turning God of War into a replayable live service title is already very ambitious, and doing it with only a fraction of what a regular live service team required is crazy. Not to mention the fact that this team never made a live service game before, but that is seemingly why Herman bought them, and now after 6 years he realizes they're of no use. Completely forgetting that Demon's Souls was a significant part of the PlayStation 5 launch lineup because it looked amazing and it brought a title that people missed to the forefront again. Do that with other major classic games you have. Like, I would argue that without Demon's Souls, the PS5 launch lineup was really missing a core exclusive. Like, this feature hardcore fans, the one who would absolutely eat up these remakes. Maybe you make a few $1 million, hopefully tens of millions in profit, but more importantly, you elevate the brand. The problem is that you just can't put that into numbers that look sexy on a spreadsheet. I really hope we get a report on what happened behind the scenes. Maybe there's more going on, but right now, this feels like the logical conclusion, looking at how Sony this generation has fumbled studios like Naughty Dog, Sony Band, a London studio, and now even Guerrilla Games. By letting these teams work on live service games they have no experience in, they would only waste money, time and resources that could have gone into creating brand new brands or profitable sequels people actually want. Of course, your thoughts are more than welcome in the comments. So then a day later, on Friday evening or afternoon, depending on where you live, Xbox announced a major shakeup. Phil Spencer is retiring, Sarah Bond is resigning, and Microsoft's AI boss is becoming the new Microsoft gaming CEO. Let's quickly touch on the Sarah Bond situation because it seems that she was not fully aware of this ahead of time. She posted a LinkedIn post 5 hours before the news broke, which shows that she clearly was not aware that this was going to happen. She also did not have a goodbye note on the official Xbox page. We always thought that she would step up to be the next CEO after Phil Spencer, but no, instead it's Asha Sharma. She joined Microsoft only 2 years ago as president of Core AI Product. Looking at her LinkedIn, before that she was at Instacart, the service that lets you shop from stores near you, and before that she was head of product at Meta for various messaging services. It really feels like Microsoft said, okay, we let Xbox run by people who love games, but that got us far from the desired results. Now let's bring in someone focused on data and profitability. Her first message to the Xbox community doesn't sound bad. She wants to focus on 3 things. First, great games. We will empower our studios, invest in iconic franchises, and back bold new ideas. We will take risks, we will enter new categories and markets where we can add real value, grounded in what players care about most. The second is the return of Xbox, which suggests that something needs fixing. This is basically about recommitting to the core Xbox fans with mentions of consoles, but also other ways to interact with the platform. And third, third, the future of play. As monetization and AI evolve and influence this future, we will not chase short-term efficiency or flood our ecosystem with soulless AI slop. Games are and always will be art, crafted by humans and created with the most innovative technology. So that's good to hear from a former president of Core AI product, but of course these are just words, and now we need to see action. So on one hand, I think it was long overdue that we saw an Xbox leadership change. While they finally have their release cadence in order, Xbox as a brand means far less than it did 10 or even 5 years ago. The next few years will be fascinating. They will show whether Phil Spencer and his team were really not as great as most of us thought, or whether things could actually get much worse. But I personally don't think it's gonna look pretty. Xbox says there won't be layoffs after this shakeup, but I find it hard to believe that the new CEO with that background and seemingly no deep love for the medium would look at underperforming studios like Double Fine or Ninja Theory and say, yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. On the flip side, I totally think that you can manage the portfolio that Xbox has in a better way. It's crazy that you buy Bethesda in 2021 and then still not have a mainline Fallout game in development. I don't care if it's Bethesda that's making it. Let Obsidian do it instead of them building other franchises like Avowed that looks like Elder Scrolls and an Outer Worlds 2 that could be a Fallout game. More on Fallout and Bethesda in a moment. Overall, dropping this news though on a Friday really screams that they know this is not exactly great news. Otherwise, you're proud of it. You're like, hey, Phil Spencer, thanks for your legacy, and we're now going to take it over. It really feels like Microsoft said, enough is enough. Asha, go fix this mess, please. I think it will be fascinating to see what happens. I will, of course, report everything here. Again, I don't think it will be pretty, though, for the companies not working on their biggest IPs. But that has been a trend in the industry as a whole. Like, the big publishers are just focusing on their biggest brands, while new ideas can only really come from smaller teams that don't have to fund a whole big giant corporation. So yeah, let's go over to more gaming news. Speaking of giant corporations, a like would really help me out. And of course, subscribe, because we post one of these big gaming news roundup videos every Sunday. Now time for quick shots, news stories I will go over quickly. Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot did an interview with Variety that revealed some interesting details. He confirmed that on Far Cry anticipation is high and we currently have 2 very promising projects in development. So this aligns with the reporting from Tom Henderson. One of these is of course Far Cry 7, a more traditional open world single player game with likely co-op elements. This reportedly that game about rescuing your family within a time limit. The other Far Cry project is an extraction shooter. However, last year we learned it was rebooted, and now Tom notes that it was rebooted again recently. He also says that Blackbird, the single player game, is having issues too. So Yves saying that they are very promising doesn't mean much. Let's hope both projects find their footing. It was also confirmed that multiple Assassin's Creed games are in development, both single player and multiplayer. We already kind of knew this. And Tom Henderson now adds on Insider Gaming that Hexe is scheduled for a release in 2027. So if you like me, we're still holding a tiny bit of hope that it would launch at the end of the year. No, this was indeed delayed. Ubisoft has some major plans to expand into TV, the Assassin's Creed Netflix series, a second season of the Splinter Cell animated series, a Far Cry TV show, and a Watch Dogs movie are all happening. And overall, the Ubisoft CEO really keeps talking about this 3-year plan, saying that cancelling games like Prince of Persia help them focus on a smaller but higher quality lineup. They also claim that recent Metacritic scores for their games have improved from the 75 to 80 range to the 80 to 85 range. But also here, actions speak louder than words, so we will have to wait and see if Ubisoft can dig themselves out of the hole they created themselves. Todd Howard appeared on Kinda Funny Gamescast this week and shared some interesting insight. He said that both Fallout 76 and Starfield were creative detours from the classic explore one cohesive world style of Skyrim, Oblivion, and Fallout 3 and 4. And with Elder Scrolls 6, he wants to return to that classic style. So the majority of Bethesda Game Studios is now working on the game alongside partner studios. He notes that they've updated the Creation Engine 2 that they used for Starfield into the Creation Engine 3, with improvements for rendering, world streaming and loading, and open world RPG optimization. Now I still expect this game in 2028 at the earliest. He also confirmed multiple Fallout projects are in development and that Fallout 5 will eventually come. But first up is Starfield. We will hear about new Starfield content coming very soon. It's not a 2.0 reboot, it's content for people who already love the game. and they do plan to target a new audience on PS5 with a rumored April 7th release date, so likely alongside that second DLC drop. Hopefully that DLC is better than the first one. I'll of course share the news when it happens. The hype for Crimson Desert is reaching new highs. This week we learned that the game will not feature any microtransactions at launch. Marketing director Will Powers did clarify on Twitter that he specifically said at launch, because they want to make some additional post-launch content as well. And that's totally not weird. These are the Black Desert Online developers. They're still supporting that game 11 years after release. So I'm totally expecting post-launch patches and content for Crimson Desert, maybe even a potential multiplayer mode. But at launch it will be a single-player open-world action-adventure title with systems from many different games combined. Maybe you saw my recent 3-hour hands-on video where I shared my thoughts up until this point after playing it multiple times since the reveal. Now this coming week though, I'll be going hands-on with a newer version and will bring you all the details, hopefully including info on console performance and much more, so stay tuned. Now it's time for the rumor roundup, where I look at the biggest leaks and rumors of the week and give stars. 3 meaning I believe it, and 1 meaning let's take this with a huge grain of salt. So during a convention, a streamer went up to Christopher Judge, the voice actor of Kratos, and was streaming the whole interaction. Well, things were said that likely weren't supposed to end up on the internet, so let's take a look.
Are you playing in the remake?
No, well, it's gonna be TC because it's not a reboot, but they're gonna put all the new technology in it, add more stuff, a new fighting system.
Okay.
So that will be TC. The original.
Sorry, who's
the original guy?
Oh, the original. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you'll be hearing about what we're doing probably late summer.
So yes, he mentioned that the trilogy remake will have a new fighting system, which is interesting. That likely means that it will be different from the 2018 game and Ragnarok after all. Maybe more hack and slash like the originals, but modernized. I'm very curious about this. And yes, then he said that we will be hearing about what he and Santa Monica likely are working on in late summer. And the crazy part is that before this, we had rumors from credible leakers saying that Sony Santa Monica's next game is planned for 2027 and that it could be revealed this summer. It's a fact that they've been working on something since Ragnarok in 2022, and a small team only did the Valhalla DLC in 2023, so this likely Cory Barlog's project. I've always speculated that I think it would still be in the God of War universe, so it's all starting to make a bit more sense now, but we can only speculate. I am giving 3 stars for the fact that we will likely see Santa Monica's next game this year, so the one that they will release before the trilogy remake. But what that game actually is, we can again only guess for now. This coming week, Resident Evil 9 will release. I really hope it lives up to the hype. I hope you have a great time if you are playing. Again, I'll be checking out Crimson Desert. You can expect my coverage on March 4th. So keep it locked to my channels. I might also do some other content on the game before and around that. So keep it locked. And because of this, my weekly news stream will be on another day. You can set a reminder by clicking on the screen and see when that is. Hope to see you there. Subscribe, leave a like, and I will speak to you soon. Goodbye.